Welcome, dreamers, to Dreaming with Intention, where vision meets action. I am your host, Mariko Bennett, and every other week we explore bold dreams, purposeful planning, and inspiring stories to help you blueprint a life that you love on your terms with intention. So grab your notebook and get ready. All right, so I could not be more excited to have the amazing Erica Heyse with me here today on our podcast of Dreaming with Intention. I think the world of you. Since the moment that I met you, you have had the warmest, kindest, but boss energy all day. You are a dynamic leader. And I am really excited about the friendship that we have been growing now over the last, I don't know how many years. But thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. And right back at you. I feel the same way.
Yeah, so I'm excited for our dreamers to learn from you as the dynamic leader that you are. I'm super excited with the title that my team came up with. So I'm going to read it, and it's Empowering the Next Generation. Leadership, service, and lifelong learning. And so I thank you for all that you do. And again, I know you're a boss, and I know that you are leading global programs, national and global programs, but I really want our learners and our dreamers to know more about you and what you are doing. So let's start at the very beginning. This is a question that I just love to throw in. So my team didn't send it to you, but I'm curious. Tell us about your background. Tell us about your upbringing. Tell us about your family. Who is Erica?
Who is Erica? Well, I'm a Jersey girl.
A Jersey girl.
I was
Okay.
born in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Grew up in Central Jersey to wonderful parents, Ray and Chris. I am the firstborn. And so that probably speaks to my story, because being the oldest, the first, there's just this I was born 30 kind of mentality. You're responsible, you're the one that looks out for everybody else. And
I was born 30.
I think I was born 30. And just like an old soul. And that's kind of what people have said to me. But I was also born to very young parents. And because of that, I feel like we grew up together. And they were not my friends, to be fair, but they were, figuring things out. And I watched that growth. And so when I was born, there's always that joke when the firstborn comes, you don't really have anything. You sort of live in the small house or the apartment or, and you're wearing hand-me-downs from people you never even met. And by the time the last child comes, they live in a palace, and it's all a different upbringing, and that's kind of how it is with my brothers. But I have two brothers younger, and we're all spread out in age by 7.5 years. So my youngest brother is 15 years younger than I am. Wow. So it's a interesting dynamic when you grow up that way. And so when I left the house, he was 2. And so we, didn't really know each other that well. We do now. And in fact, he lives down the street from me, so it's great. But moved to North Carolina when I was 12, and it was a culture shock to be coming from sort of that Bon Jovi Central Jersey area with the hair and the bangs and the whole thing.
There was a lot of hair.
Oh, there was a lot of things going on there. It was the 80s. And then moving to what was then a very small town in North Carolina, which is Huntersville, which is now part of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg. At that time, though, it was just rural, and it was one stoplight, a Waffle House, a school, a library. There wasn't a lot there. So just adjusting to that atmosphere was tough. And, I remember being Catholic, where I grew up in a town that everyone was Catholic, pretty much, and driving, I think, 25 miles to the closest Catholic church, because people were Southern Baptist, and, they were not, that was just not there. And so people thought that I was so different because I was Catholic.
Wow.
And they just had all these questions for me which I was not a great representative of Catholicism, I didn't have all those answers.
And you were like 12.
I know, it's like, I don't know. Do we do that? I'm not sure. But I just remember that was such a distinguishing factor, and I would have never thought that about myself. But I think having that challenge when you're young, when you're, going in 7th grade, middle school is hard. And then when you're changing schools and you're moving not just cities and towns, but states, and you're having to start over. You have to make all new friends, and you have to sort of be brave, and at a very awkward stage of life, walk into a place where you know no one and just start again. And I think that really helped me, because you'll have to keep doing that in life. And when I went off to college, and when I moved to Washington, and when I started new jobs and all those things, you have to kind of walk in there and be brave and feel good enough about yourself that people will like you. Because I think that human connection and that sense of belonging is so critical to our development and to who we are as people, that when you break it and have to start over, that experience is true growth, because you're so vulnerable. And so I ended up going to Chapel Hill for college, because I was in North Carolina, which was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Go Heels. And then moved to Washington after college, and I've been there ever since.
Now, what did you study?
I was an industrial relations major, so I thought that that's the look I get. I thought I was going to study HR. I really did.
Okay.
I thought I really love studying human behavior, why people make choices that they make, and what makes them happy, what makes them tick, what makes them motivated. And I thought at the time, again, it's the 90s, I thought I was going to move to Seattle and work for Microsoft, which is right outside of Seattle, and work in HR. And that was my dream. And it didn't happen. But what did happen was, I worked myself through school. I was a nanny for a family. Ended up meeting their nanny, who they had 10 years before them, who was helping the family at the time. And we became friends. So she was 10 years older than me, and she worked in Washington. And so when I graduated, she said to me, would you come to Washington and interview here? And she worked at the Congressional Award. And so I just thought, what do they do there?
Right.
I didn't study politics.
The Congressional Award.
Yeah, I don't know. And so I ended up doing it, and I ended up getting the job, and I've been there ever since. And that was 25 years ago. I just celebrated my 25th anniversary with the award.
Well, congratulations on 25 years.
Thank you.
In an industry that you didn't know existed.
I did not.
Right?
I did not. And when I started, what I really liked about it was it focused on young people. And I had a lot of experience babysitting, and I had little brothers, and if I didn't study industrial relations and go into business, I wanted to be in education. So I thought, well, this might be an opportunity for me to take on some of that education, challenge that I was hoping for. And so I did get to do a lot of that when I started.
Well, congratulations on 25 years.
Thank you.
That's a big
got
deal.
An award and
we like awards.
We
like
awards.
25 years of consistency and awards. So tell us a little bit. That's, I think, a great segue into what is the Congressional Award.
The Congressional Award is Congress's only award for young people, and it is their only official charity. So we are a 501c3, but we're very unique because we're positioned within the Capitol, and we do serve the House and Senate. So it is a non-political, bipartisan, bicameral program, but it is focused on really speaking to the 14 through 24-year-olds and challenging them to set goals for themselves. And so it's a framework really, and it's really all based on challenging young people to set goals in specific program areas that Congress feels is important to teach to become good citizens. So volunteerism is the base of it, and then there's a physical fitness component and taking care of ourselves and our health. There's a personal development piece, which is exploring something that you're interested in, finding your passion. And then there's an exploration part, which is about exploring areas that are new and different to you. So getting an understanding of the world. And so those 4 program areas, you have to set goals for yourself and work toward them over time. So the other piece that it teaches is that really life is a marathon, not a sprint, right? So my goal setting has to show consistency over time. If I'm going to volunteer, it should be over several months, not volunteering over the course of a week, because the difference and the impact that you're making over a week is very different than the difference or impact you can make over a year. So it's teaching that good things come to those who wait, and the more that you put in, the more you'll get out of it. And I think the gym is probably the best example of that. I'd love to be fit in a week, just knock it out, get in there. But unfortunately, you have to keep doing it, and the more you put in, the more you get out. And that's kind of the message that we're teaching our young people, which is really hard right now.
Mm-hmm. It is. Everybody wants instant gratification.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Instant gratification. So is the Congressional Award an actual award that a 14 or through 23 or 24?
24.
Okay, so 14 to 24, and it's an actual award that individuals can win.
Yes. So
Okay,
they earn it.
Oh, they earn. That's right. It's an earn thing.
It is an earn thing. And the reason I say that is because it's non-competitive. So it's extremely inclusive, which is why I love this award, because anyone can earn it. The age range 14 through 24 is really the only distinguishing factor. You do have to be in that age range. But if we'll give out as many awards as there are young people willing to take on the challenge.
Okay. It's a challenge. Tell us about the challenge.
Right.
Okay.
But first, to answer your question, it's a physical, tangible award.
Okay.
It is a medal that Congress gives.
A medal from Congress. Dreamers.
It is coined by the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. There's the bronze, the silver, and the gold.
Okay.
And there are certificate levels too. When you first start, you can earn those, but it graduates to the medal levels. And the gold medal is the highest of the 6 levels of our award, presented annually in Washington in the Capitol building every June. So we just had this ceremony. And we have about 50,000 young people that are all in the program earning some level of the award right now that we support. And it really, it's a proud moment, because the work that goes into it is rigorous. I would say it's simple in that, okay, I have my goals and I'm going to work toward these goals in these 4 program areas. But the commitment you have to make over time and the hours that you have to accumulate, it's rigorous. You do have to keep going. You do have to be intentional about it, which is, what this is all about. And so by the time the gold medal comes around, the requirements are you are doing 800 hours of work over a minimum of 2 years.
Okay.
So 400 hours of volunteerism, 200 hours of personal development, 200 hours of physical fitness, and a minimum of a 4-night expedition or exploration.
Wow.
That will get you the gold. So when you think about the Eagle Scout and what that's required, or what that requires, because I'm a Scout mom as well, that equates with their requirements loosely to our bronze medal level, and then you double that for silver, and then you double that again for gold. So these students are really putting in a lot of effort.
Yes. And they've been working for years to get it done. And that's the piece I talk about all the time. It's discipline, it's consistency, but that builds mastery.
Yes.
Right? And so you learn what works, you learn what does not work, right? And you talked about the gym, and you were like, I would love to be able to go to the gym. But so today, and that's like, when I think about the vision that I have for myself, right, in 20 years, it is a vision that includes a lifestyle of fitness. And so, I knew I was filming today, and I knew that we had multiple interviews, and I knew that we started at 8:30 a.m. or something, right? So that meant at 4:45, I was up to hit the gym. It's not for the faint at heart. It's not for the folks that are not willing to put the work in whatever area of life that you're trying to focus in. So, with blueprinting, we have 7 life focus areas, and that's the area where I want to intentionally grow. I have 2 this year that I selected for 2025. One is physical body, been killing it, and then the other one is financial. And so I have to put in the work. I love to shop. It's a thing.
Come on.
I've done so well this year. Anyway, but I had to hire a financial planner. I have to show up and meet with her every 2 weeks. There have been things that I've had to cut out of my life that I just felt like were normal, and belong to you.
Like donuts.
Oh, I got donuts a long time ago. Donuts, oh please. I couldn't believe they had cookies in there. I was like, who's still eating cookies in 2025? But fine, you got cookies and muffins? All right, have at it. But anywho, I think that you everything that you outline is so critical and important, especially around being intentional, goal setting, and actually reaching full manifestation on those goals. It does not come without the work.
It doesn't. And one of the challenges that we have with our foundation is making sure that all young people see that opportunity. Because I mean, I have a wonderful, wonderful set of parents, but when I was growing up, there were other priorities happening versus where they weren't 100% focused on what should Erica be doing in high school, right? They trusted that I would get that done. Where I think a lot of parents I see are extremely involved. They're looking for opportunities for their kids. They're thinking through college and what that's going to look like, internships, scholarships, fellowships, all those things. And those are what I would call an engaged parent. Not every family has that luxury or even has parents around to do that, right? So what happens to the young people that aren't really being pushed, that aren't really being challenged at home? Because children are raised, it's full circle. It's not just school, it's home. It's all the wraparound services, right? So we have to think about, well, how are you reaching the young people who don't have someone in their lives saying, you should do this, right? Or asking them to be a part of something. How do we find those young people? How do we reach them? So our challenge is going into the areas of the country where historically we haven't seen a lot of young people earning this award because they don't know about it. They don't see themselves as being an award earner or going through a program that rigorous or having that connection to Congress or just seeing themselves up on a stage wearing a medal. So we try to change that. So that visualization, if you can see it, you can be it, really goes such a long way. But we have to get in front of them to show them that they can do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, how does one learn more about the Congressional Award?
Well, easily to go to our website, congressionalaward.org. And then we have all the social media platforms. But a lot of people do find out about it through their members of Congress, House and Senate. So you will often see it on their websites as well. But we do partnerships with national youth organizations like 4-H and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And those might be areas where you find out about the Congressional Award. But honestly, a lot of guidance counselors know about it and teachers, and they may say to a student, hey, check out this opportunity. This might be something good for you to do. And so we hear a lot of students coming through that way, that path of through a school mentor.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you talked about, Erica, that I think is so important, and that is the work over time, right? And when we talk about youth and youth of this generation, why do you feel that that is so important? In the microwave, world of the internet and everything happening just so fast.
Well, what I see, and I have a 17-year-old daughter as well, so I see this at home also, but often with technology being what it is and access, young people are accustomed to getting things immediately. And we see a lot of that on social media. If you have a thought or an opinion or an emotion, you can, or a really cute picture, you can put it out into the world, and within 10 minutes, you will have immediate responses and validation.
And you might be famous.
How you feel.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so fast, right? You can order something on Amazon. I do this too, but I need something. I'm going to order it within 2 seconds. I'm ordering it, and it is at my doorstep by the end of the day, right? I binge watch television shows. When I grew up, we could not binge anything besides, Pringles. But you really had to wait a whole week to watch the next episode of whatever TV show that you wanted to watch. And you learned to be disciplined about that. And you were at the TV.
Well, soap operas. Will we not say that soap operas were kind of a binge? Because every day around noon, my grandmother was in that room.
But could you, my stories, I'm watching my stories. But you couldn't watch 8 hours of it if you wanted to. If you wanted Guiding Light to last through the night.
Yeah, you could not. You got that 1 hour.
You had to wait the next day. So I think there is a waiting piece. Now, you can binge everything in one day, one weekend. And so I think the art of waiting and that discipline has gotten a bit lost. And where I think that matters most is in relationships and in the workforce. And so there are a lot of studies, and other people speak to this, is that you're not seeing the same level of satisfaction when young people get a new job. They immediately think, I should be running this place. I want the promotion, I want, all the things. And that's not great, because that's not reality.
Mm-mm.
You have to put in the work, and you have to show commitment over time, and you have to be good. You can't just be good, in the very beginning and then slip off and think that's okay. So I think that we have to teach that for not just for our workforce and for the companies we work for, but for ourselves, to take pride in our work and how we show up. I think that has to be taught. And then the other part is, you can't rush relationships. You can't rush friendships or romantic relationships or whatever you're in. That takes time. I have to show up every day and learn how to get along with you, be vulnerable with you, be understanding, and get through all the pieces that you have to get through. And you can't rush that. And so I think that art and that skill set is a bit lost. And so we find that young people aren't as satisfied in those areas as they used to be when you look at the research. So I think by challenging and motivating young people to set goals when you're a teenager, when you're in middle school, and learn how to discipline yourself to be consistent over time, you are kind of putting that skill set back in play, saying, hey, this is going to matter. It's going to matter in school, right? You have to get through a semester of school. You got to be consistent. You got to get through all 4 years of college if that's what you want to do. You got to get into the workforce. What you put into it, you will get out of it. And I think that's true into adulthood. So I feel that teaching that with these generations, we're with multiple generations of young people right now between the ages of 14 and 24, and they have different behavioral pieces to them. But millennials are different than our other generations. So we have to make sure that we're encouraging that discipline for young people.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is just so true, and it does take time. And I like what you said about relationships too. And I always like to say battle tested too, right? Because relationships go through sometimes hard times, right?
Right.
And so how do you know if you've never been battle tested? And then the same thing with the work environment. It's not going to always go your way. You actually have to come in and learn. And when you're learning, you're not always the best. So you had to get some feedback.
But Instagram might tell me I'm the best.
Instagram
because I have
told
75 likes on this. And so where's your
and
validation
TikTok taught
coming
them
from?
what other people went to college for. So I'm just saying, no shade, nothing against it. We have a TikTok account. I'm just saying, some people went to college to learn, and so. I love that. So speaking of college, right? And so you talked about where you went and studied for undergrad, but you also have a graduate degree.
I do.
From Georgetown, right?
Yes.
And so you also talked about your 17-year-old daughter and all of these things. So phase 2 of my 4 C's of manifestation, I talk about customizing a plan that works for you in your life. Based on what you want to manifest. And so when you're working on intentional goals for yourself, and how are you customizing a plan? Like, how do you work on that? How do you set intentional goals for yourself, knowing that you have, you're running this amazing organization, you've got a 17-year-old, talk a little bit about when you want to set intentional goals, how you do it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's always a balance of things, right? So I'm a single mom, and I think, my priority being at home, knowing that I'm rooted in that, I've got, that's my number one responsibility. And then having the foundation, and then having my own personal growth and development. In COVID, when the world changed and I wasn't traveling anymore and doing some of the things that I was sort of accustomed to, it left room. I don't do well with room. I think if you want something done, ask a busy person. When you start to feel yourself not get busy, I get nervous. So I know that about myself. So in COVID, I was starting to get, like many people, I'm sure, just a little antsy. And I thought, well, let me put that to good use intentionally, and let me see if I can get a certification, take a class. Hadn't done that in forever. I'd been out of school for 20 some years. we don't have to do math, but
You're like, you said that out loud.
I know, I was throwing it out there. It's okay, but
it's okay.
But it's okay to go back at any time. And so I did that. I took a few courses and I really liked it. I took this, Harvard certification piece in nonprofit leadership. I studied diversity, equity, and inclusion and got a certificate from Loyola of Chicago. And so I was just doing these other things, and I thought, you know what, I should commit to getting a full graduate degree. I didn't do it before, and I felt like, why not? This is the time. And so I just made the decision. I said, this is what I'm going to do. And so I went back and I went to Georgetown, and my daughter was in middle school at the time when I started. And so it was really kind of nice because she saw me go back to school as an older person. I was in class with a lot of younger people, and which was eye-opening, but really happy that I did it. It took me a little over 3 years, and Mia and I, my daughter and I, would sit and do homework together at the table. So kitchen table Sunday nights, because my assignments were due at 11:59. So I was doing them on Sunday.
You were not waiting to the last minute. No way, not you. No.
I know. But so Sunday was sort of homework and project day, and we would both sit at the kitchen table, and we would both be she'd be doing her book reports, and I'd be doing my papers, and it was a nice bonding kind of experience, and we'd make dinner and we'd hang out. So when it was done, I actually really missed it. I missed my Sunday nights, and I thought maybe I should get my PhD or something, but I didn't. I hit pause, but yeah, I
you can still go back and get that.
I could. I could. I think and this goes to something that you and I were kind of chatting about, like, always be a beginner at something, always keep doing something new. And for me, going back to school, and I studied something completely different. I went back to school for communications. So I had studied HR, I went back to school for corporate communications and public affairs. That's what I got my master's in. So it was a whole different, direction for me. And being in school with people who studied that in undergrad, they sort of had a little leg up. But then again, I was in a corporate career for a long time, so
so you had some legs up too. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
You had some things that you were teaching some of the folks.
Yeah, a little bit, but it was a wonderful program. I enjoyed it, but I really wanted that for myself, and I would say that was extremely intentional. And then you just have to be disciplined about it. This is how I'm going to fit this in. This is how I'm going to take these classes. In Washington and in the job that I have, evening events are so popular. You have that all the time, but you have to carve out time for your class and for whatever homework and assignments you have. So you have to be really, you have to be a planner. You can't just wing that. And so that gave me a lot of discipline in just setting my schedule. Yeah. And then you just want time at home to be with your family and do all those things too.
Yeah, I talk about being intentional with your calendar and with your schedule, because if you show me your checkbook and your schedule, I'm really going to know what you're working on, right? Yeah. Because it's going to align with hopefully where you're trying to intentionally grow. Yeah. And you really do have to carve out time, and we call that progress tracking in blueprinting. And so, but you also have to see, like, oh, what did I do? Where did I spend my time? I actually... action planning and progress tracking. So I actually map out for physical body what I'm working on. Like, I know which days I'm working out. I know exactly where I'm going. I know the time blocks that I can actually go be intentional and do that work. And so as you mentioned, being a single mom, having and how many people do you have that report to you?
We have an office of 10.
Office of 10, right? So you have an office of 10 people who report up through you. And then you've got how many partners and things? You have all the members of Congress.
We have a lot.
You've got all these various states that you work in. And so you have to be really intentional when you're carving out and setting goals for yourself, I'm sure. So thank you for sharing that, because I think people have these goals, they have these dreams. They say they want to go and do X, Y, or Z. But they have not customized that plan that works for their life. And been intentional with that.
It has to make sense. It does have to make sense. And I think for me, leaving some room to open. So I think it's both. I think it's intentionality, but it's also walking through open doors. And I think you do have to leave some room and some level of energy for recognizing when a door opens, because you don't always know when it's going to open. The door that opened for me that got me the job I have, I wasn't intentional about wanting to work where I ended up working, but a door opened and I recognized it when it happened and I walked through it. And you don't always know when those are going to happen, because those can be game changers. And I think I had a few along the way that were really critical for me. And I think you still have to leave open some energy and be listening for those doors. And sitting in front of a door, by the way, that's blocked, that's closed, and pushing your nose up against it is a waste of time.
Walk away, turn around.
Do not do it.
Yeah,
do not
turn around.
If the door is closed, there's a reason. You're missing 3 other doors that are opening, right? So I think that you have to leave room for that. But once you walk through that door, all your intentionality matters, and that is what is going to make you be successful there or not. And so by getting the job that I had, of course I had to interview for it and actually get it, but someone made the recommendation. They recognized something in me that I probably didn't even see in myself and said, I think you'd be good at this. You should come. And I did, and I got it. But once I was there, no one was going to do that job for me. You have to be intentional about how I'm going to do this job, how I'm going to be successful here, where I'm going to go with this. And that's where all the goals kind of came in. So I still listen for the doors open.
No, I love that. But I will say that you were prepared for the opportunity because you had your degree.
I was. Yes. I put and also put yourself in rooms and spaces where doors are more likely to open. And where people will think of you when there's an opportunity. Your life will never change sitting on your couch. And I tell myself that when I'm sitting at home, like, should I do something? Should I stay here? Well, your life's not going to change sitting on your own couch watching TV. If you get up and go out to attend that event or meet that friend or be intentional about asking someone to coffee or build your network, that can actually change my life. Because you never know what that person knows as an opportunity, and then, I'm going to think about you because you told me that you work in communications or that you're a nonprofit leader, and then suddenly a couple weeks later you'll get a call. I thought about you. I just heard about this thing, and would you be interested? And you say, okay, that came because I intentionally set up that coffee, and I really tried to make sure that I'm putting myself in spaces where a door might open for me.
And I think, does that go to mentorship and community, right? So what community are you building? What mentors do you have around you that open up, I think, opportunities? Advocates and sponsors. So talk a little bit about what that looks like and feels like and means, to young people, the young people that you're working with, the dreamers that we have listening, etc.
Yes, I think as a young person, and I work with high schoolers most often, when you're 14, 15, 16, obviously you have teachers, you have your guidance counselor, you have your parents. I think as many relationships as you can build and as many opportunities that you can take advantage of, being in clubs, volunteering, even making friends with peers and colleagues, those are connections in you building your community. Find those mentors. I mean, I can think back to a teacher or two that really changed everything for me because of how they spoke to me and how they looked at me and how they appreciated me. And in the workforce, I can think of very specific people who took the time to really see me as a young person, and that feeling of gratitude, but also surprise and awe. Because in Washington, especially working at the Capitol, there's a lot of ego and different dynamics going on in that building. So when you're really young and you're new, you feel young and new and you feel like invisible. So when someone sees you and says, you're doing a great job, I think you're really, fantastic, or whatever the compliment is, it'll stay with you forever.
It's true. I work in that space. I laugh so hard because I work in that space, as you know, for like 12 years. And so there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of highly educated individuals, and a lot of multi-generational, right? Because that's the other piece you balance. So it's not just like one generation of like, I'm a badass, but it's like
Right.
multiple generations of badasses. So you're absolutely right when they say that and see you. It really does mean something. It sticks with you.
So when you're in my position or your position, and you have the opportunity to see a young person and tell them that and empower them and say, hey, I see you, you're doing a great job, or I'm here if you need help. And this might be an example of help. You might ask this or ask that. I mean, really guiding people. I think that goes such a long way.
It does. And we're here to help each other. And that's the most important thing. So I definitely tell all people, especially young people, if there's someone who says they will help you, go get the help. And if they don't respond on that first email, that's okay. They were just really busy. If they said that they will help you, they will. And they meant it. So just keep following up with them, right? Because they just are busy. So I know we have to close, but there's like two things that I want to ask you before we head out. And the first is, I always like to give resources to our listeners. And so when you think about manifestation work, when you think about goal setting, action planning, visioning, and reaching full manifestation, do you have some resources that you use, books that you read, podcasts that you go to, or just kind of what are the tools that you would recommend that someone?
Well, I'm a big Brene Brown fan. So just in terms of podcasts and books, and she has a lot of content, and Adam Grant and just these thought leaders. I think there's so many thought leaders out there. You kind of have to pick through what you put a lot of faith in and what you don't, and usually you pick a few things here and there. But I think the more that you can listen to like that, you'll just pick up these little tidbits for yourself and really just tuck them away and carry them with you. And so I really do suggest, and by the way, the Pivot podcast that Kara Swisher and I think is really helpful because I was also interested in furthering my financial goals and I became really interested in fintech and a lot of other just sort of business resources and keeping a finger on the pulse of what was actually happening in the world. Also very important. We don't live in a bubble. Like really important to know what is happening in the world, not just my house or community or city, but this country and other countries in the world. So I think the more that you can, and I'm a podcast person. I do like that. Some people really love the books, but I would explore those as much as possible. And I mean, start anywhere. And I think for those that are TikTokers, and you're absorbing things in like 10-second intervals, that's okay. You would be surprised what can come to you in 10 seconds. So, but yes, I think that that I would probably start with a Brene Brown and kind of go from there. You'll see a lot of fellow authors and researchers and scientists that study, human behavior, but also why we do the things we do. I think the deeper understanding we have of ourselves, self-awareness, will teach you so much about your own goal setting and how you reach the next part of your life.
I love that. And then the last question is, what are you dreaming of now for yourself and for the Congressional Award?
Oh my gosh. I spend a lot of time thinking about how to empower other people and my team, because I've done this for 25 years. I know I've left a mark, and I think a lot about the younger people who are working with me and have been amazing partners and teammates, what can be next for them and how to empower them, because so much of what we do and many other organizations encounter this, it's a lot of just trial and error. I'm going to throw some spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And for 25 years, I've gotten to lead that and do that on a continual basis. Stepping aside and letting other people do that, even if it doesn't work, as a leader, and saying, go for it. Like, let's see if it works. And I think that is where my intention is, because I'm thinking about the organization's future and what, who will be around when I'm gone, and making sure that it thrives and succeeds. And so looking to find those special people that I think can carry it to the next level. That's what I'm thinking of and dreaming about.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Wonderful conversation. I appreciate you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah.